off positively, and as I sat here, I was thinking, all I'm thinking about are nuclear warheads. It's really hard to be upbeat when all you can think of is nuclear warheads.
But what we
Classic
have to
mainstream
remember is
television
still
approach.
people's birthdays,
No, I
it's
know.
still people's christenings, it's still people. So
Christenings?
Yeah, babies might be christened today.
No,
Of
christenings
course.
still happen.
Of
Christenings.
course.
Oh, right.
Christening?
Yeah. I haven't heard of anyone doing a christening in absolutely ages.
Oh, people do christen. It's because we don't know people with babies.
That's true. Maybe we don't know.
And people are still
Christians.
planning for their weddings. People are still having 18th birthdays. If it's your birthday today, be sure to tell us so we can sing for you. Maybe we'll just sing for you through this morning just to keep our spirits up.
Can we say hello to Karen Gogarty? I tried to get Mark and Nadia for a shout out, but it never happens.
Karen Gogarty, Karen Gogarty, Karen Gogarty.
Things do go up so fast. If we miss things, it's not because we're ignoring it.
Keep trying. We will see you one day.
We will see you one day, yeah, exactly.
Hey, if this is your first time to the channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. We are here 6 days a week. We do coffee moaning. Sometimes we do wine o'clock. Sometimes it's just all news. Sometimes we plan to talk about the news and we just have such a giggle that we talk about other stuff. Our aim is to talk about the news with you like we would our family or our friends. It's not like how you get the news on news channels where it's ba, 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 ba. We talk about it. Would you say that's right? How you might talk about it with your friends with coffee in the morning.
Yeah, I also think we try and take the heat out of it, but sometimes it's very hard to take the heat out of things. And I think we are in a situation where, a lot of people want to avoid it, and at the same time, people won't be able to avoid it because it keeps snagging our interest. So what my take on that is that better that you have as balanced or as kind of calm grab on it. Obviously, nothing we say or know is exhaustive at all. We just, we're customers of the free press and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of look at these stories, but sometimes I think it's nice to float out different opinions, and we love your contributions and your angles and your takes on things. I mean, I think that's the crucial part of this. It's a discussion. It's not.
And also, I think that. Certainly when I was at Glasgow at the weekend, we talked about it a lot, me and Kay, and to the point where our kids kept having to leave the room. But on Friday, I talked to a lot of the younger people at work, and some of them actually broke my heart on just how anxious they are. I was talking to Mark about this morning. And, one particular person who shall remain nameless that I was talking to, and, they were saying how their anxiety has gone off the scale, how their OCD has just become like a nightmare. And I said, what's your main fear? And they said to me, and they were like all confused, and then they went, I think death. And I suppose, yes, ultimately, with all that's going on in the news, that's our fear. How will our world be changed? How could our world possibly be changed? So the advice that I gave this person was, because they were saying how every room they walk into, the news is on. You go to Facebook, there's horrible films. People, are messaging with films of terrible suffering. And I think it's really important. And I spoke about this actually on Friday on Loose Women. Do you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, Mark, when we were just watching the news 24/7? And then eventually I was not being able to function. And I said to Mark, I can't do this. I've just got to watch it once a day. But you were still in the vibe of having to watch it all day. Yeah. I think that's a difficult part of this, dealing with these big news stories, is if you're living with somebody who's working out, or this person I was speaking to on Friday at work, they're in a flat and the flatmates are all talking about it. The news is blasting. You have to find a way that works for you.
But
But the one thing I don't think helps anxiety, and I was reading this as a psychologist this morning, is you can get so laser focused on it that you're watching and listening to everything because you feel like it's sorting out your anxiety, but actually it won't. And it's better, all the advice seems to be, get your news mostly once a day if you need it, and try not to plug into it.
But it's such a fast moving situation. I kind of agree, but I do have this kind of frustration sometimes. And I understand the desire to kind of avoid it completely, but I think avoiding it completely means that you get more scared when the headlines kick through, or when you hear an uncorroborated bit of the story, or you hear something out of context. So, for example, yesterday we hear the whole thing, he's put his nuclear arsenals on alert, Putin, you know, what does that mean? I mean, if I'm really honest, I've always felt that his nuclear arsenals were always on alert and always pointing at us. So you could argue that very little has changed. It's just that he's said it. Does he mean his nuclear arsenal is aimed at the West, or does he mean that he's talking about, albeit just as awful, a localized nuclear strike potentially on Ukraine? You know, what I'm saying is that you hear these headlines, and if you looked at the front of every newspaper today, you'd think we were going to war.
You'd give up.
As in a nuclear war. And he hasn't even said the word nuclear. He's upped his, you know, and a lot of
defense.
A lot of experts, our defense minister, Ben Wallace, has said this too, just to moderate a little bit the kind of concern. We're many steps away from where we were at during the Cuban Missile Crisis. You know, there are many steps away. Say there are 5 buttons and that one is the one that sets them off. We're probably at about number 6. So there's 4 more other places to go to. God, the Belarusian president keeps making contributions, which is a little bit frustrating.
So Unique's birthday, we will sing you. We will sing you happy birthday.
So
happy birthday.
So really, we want to, Reese. I really want to talk about that. We will talk about that. What's happening to black people generally in Ukraine trying to escape? It's just
as they try to cross the border into Poland. It's horrendous.
But also, look, really Nigerian students currently facing in Ukraine regarding racism from Ukrainians in terms of not being allowed to board transport safely and being left to sleep outside. You know, now, who's worried about this? I mean, who's like really worried about this? I mean, who cannot be worried about this? Are you worried about this?
Yes, of course, but I'm just trying to moderate it all the time. And sometimes I get a rise of panic come up into me, like so scary. Mark's been talking about Russia for years with me and saying, oh my God, I'm really worried about Russia. So I feel a bit more prepared than a lot of other people that haven't thought about Russia once. But yes, I get rising panic. I think both Mark and I are on the same page with this. We were talking about this 7 o'clock this morning. This is how I see Putin, right? I think the West has kept a naughty child quiet by giving him sweeties. And every time he's misbehaved, there's been a threat of what boundary would be put in place, and then we haven't put it in place. And Ian Duncan Smith was really interesting yesterday. He was answering questions for an hour on LBC. I found it fascinating, actually. And he was talking about how in the West we have just been so greedy in the cheap everything that we've got from Russia and from China. And we have built these 2 superpowers. And now we are sort of reaping the rewards of, and the way I see it is, a very out of control child that we are now... What is it they say? Show me the child at 7, I'll show you the man. That we are now trying to suddenly bring in a naughty step, take away his treats, give him boundaries, tell him off, send him to his room, and it's too much.
It is
because
too much.
You can't suddenly do that.
Well,
and we are both, and actually a lot of people are phoning up on LBC, the same, of the school of thought that give the man somewhere he can move.
Well, no, that's exactly what I wanted to say.
If you keep pushing him into a corner...
That's exactly what I've been saying all weekend. Out? I mean, all weekend I've been saying the West has to be really careful. The West has to be really careful in all of these stringent... I mean, the Belarusian president has just said the West is pushing us to work towards world war by reducing the Russian economy. When Putin said, you get involved in this, you'll know something like you've never known before, he wasn't just referring to military boots on the ground. He was referring to whatever the response... Now, it's a tricky position we're in, but like you say, Nadia, it suited us not to stand up to Russia for so long. And then to suddenly turn around in such an extreme way and lose your shit with them is only going to be greeted with even more anger. And so unless we give him some way to climb down with some self-respect, my worry is it will just keep escalating.
But how I made myself feel better about this is yesterday I was all nervous because Biden seemed to be having a nice weekend away in Delaware. And Boris wasn't saying anything, and none of the world leaders were saying when he really had escalated things. And so we were talking about this morning, weren't we? Maybe this is actually behind the scenes. For instance, all the reports that we've heard about Russians not being allowed to use Swift Bank. Well, the Swift banking system. Ian Duncan Smith was saying yesterday, well, that looks like a big punishment. But actually, there must be some sort of conversations that have gone on around the back door, because this bank and that bank and this bank are actually allowed to work through the SWIFT system. And I thought, well, he was saying that like it's a bad thing and we should be much tougher. But I was thinking maybe the brilliant diplomatic brains that are behind all this, hopefully they are there, that we're not seeing, are actually managing the naughty child in a different way so that he's got a way to step out without losing face.
Yeah.
Because I think we can all agree, this is a man that is not going to be okay with losing face. So how do we get that naughty child that's in the middle of a massive tantrum? Would you ever, with a child that's having a massive tantrum, go, right, you can go to your room and you're not having any sweets and you're not seeing your friends on Saturday in the tantrum? Never. Because they will go batshit crazy and scream and cry and start punching and do anything. That's literally how I see this situation. He needs to be given a way out where he doesn't lose face.
As we speak, just 2 minutes ago, the supposed peace talks or negotiations started between the Ukraine and a Russian delegation on the border of Belarus and Ukraine. So God only knows.
Hope with that.
Yeah, God only knows what that will yield. But we have to hope for some kind of ceasefire of some form. Now,
he has Cat, but we've got to give him a way out.
My major worry about any ceasefire or stepping down of all of it is once, say Putin was to go, all right, look, fucking hell, I've gone too far. We just want these two states. Sorry about everything. We're pulling back, da-da-da. Well, he won't do that because we know he never says sorry. But say he was to find an unholy peace with Ukraine. He then lifts his head up from Ukraine and looks to everything that we've done in the West, which it feels like we had to do something. This is where we're in such a catch-22 situation. You have to do something. But, you know, when he looks up from the West and you look at the fact that the interest rates in Russia have gone to 20%, the ruble has crashed through the floor, you know, how angry is he going to be?
I know.
This is the worry, is what do you do with a despot who could get angrier the more you show strength? I mean, I know people say he only responds to strength, but you could argue he only responds to strength with more strength.
Go back to the analogy to the child. Only if you've been brought up with some strength. He can't suddenly come to the party and go, right now, we want you to behave in this certain kind of way.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, you know, this isolation that
there
he's
was no coffee moaning yesterday. Sorry, Sophie.
Yeah, we don't do coffee moaning on
No,
Sunday.
I did say I was going to, but things ran away.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Zoe, it's hard because I want to stay informed with it all, but I also want to protect my anxiety. It all feels very dark and terrifying. I've been finding it hard to sleep.
Well, they say,
Yeah.
I was reading up today on what psychologists are recommending. Try not to watch any videos, don't look at any photos, and get your information from print. You know, go to the BBC website or something like that and just read what you need to, and set yourself a time. So if 10 o'clock at night is a disaster for you, because then you're not going to be able to sleep, check in every morning. I mean, you know, you can check in with us here. Check in every morning and then try to just get on with your life, because we are powerless. We are actually powerless. There's nothing we can do to change this situation.
But just to give you a little insight as to how complicated things are and how things are all about different points of view and different perspectives, I think I mentioned last week, imagine if a state next to, say, Mexico, right next to America, wanted to join, say Mexico wanted to join a group of nations that were linked with Russia and were all united in a sort of nuclear defense deterrent. America wouldn't tolerate it. America wouldn't tolerate it. They wouldn't necessarily invade the country, but they wouldn't tolerate it, and they'd look for all ways to kind of prevent that. And another thing, so I'm just talking about POV here, it's important in the negotiating and in the diplomacy that you don't just knock Russian demands out of the water, irrespective of where they come from. You have to give them a fair hearing, because they'll feel they've been given a fair hearing. You might disagree with them and they might be wrong, but you have to give them a fair hearing. Small example is this. There is a contradiction at work, and there is, you know, yes, Ukraine is fighting. Yes, the Prime Minister, President is brilliant. Yes, they're the underdogs and everything. But there is, say, for example, is it Sean King was posting about it on Instagram? There is a white supremacist neo-Nazi wing to the Ukrainian army.
We were just finding out about this
called
morning.
The Azov militia, which is part of the National Guard. And the reason I'm talking about that is that for Putin gives him in his head some element of, well, there are white supremacists and they are Nazi sympathizers. So, and going back to Reese's point, that there is not low level, there's high level racism within the country happening around people trying to evacuate. I know they were struggling with people from Zambia. You're saying they're struggling with people from Nigeria. So there is clearly...
it seems to be that anyone of colour is finding it difficult to cross that border into Poland.
Yeah.
Which is just another
So just going
layer
back to that,
of
again,
horror.
in the diplomacy, I think we would be better positioned to negotiate with Russia if we were to say, yeah, you're right, there are wings to the Ukrainian thing that are extremist. Talk to Zelensky about it. Say, right, you need to keep that in control and check. That's how you broker a deal. And I don't know if this is what's happening behind the scenes. But, everything, even the Russian perspective on what they're doing down there, needs to be looked at objectively. Otherwise, we don't stand a chance to negotiate.
Because he is a madman.
Yeah.
He's a madman. There's no doubt about that. And this is brutal, what is happening, obviously, in Ukraine, to the poor Ukrainian people. But we're going to have some sort of dialogue at some point.
Yeah.
And there's somebody is going to have to acquiesce, because meanwhile he's just going to get more and more violent.
Yeah.
The threats that somebody was just saying this morning, this isn't the full force of the Russian army on the Ukraine yet.
No.
He is still trying to tell. He's still peddling the lie that this is just manoeuvres to shut down, military power in Ukraine, and we might have to play the game where we say, okay, right, well, hopefully that's what's happening on the border. What can we hand over here to stop what is only going to escalate?
Yeah.
And I can't wait to hear what's happening with these talks. Though a lot of people are saying we can't have a lot of hope in them, but I'm going to keep some hope.
Yeah, I think so.
That something's going to be able to help de-escalate it even a little bit.
Tra-la-la, hiya, I hope you're well. One of the Dancing with Stars professionals, Maxim, is doing updates on his Instagram from Ukraine. Worth watching. He's giving live updates, very calm.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I mean, there are some people are saying that the reason, I know a lot of people are saying Russia aren't making as much progress as they want. Other people are saying they haven't tried to go in hard. I mean, it's hard to say that to people. When you look at the numbers, I think 350 Ukrainians have been declared as dead. I've seen a lot of Russian military kind of blown up and what have you. I don't know whether, we're certainly not seeing the full force of the Russian army. Is this potentially them just giving a little kind of taster of what could come so that they can go to the negotiating table with Ukraine? I don't know. When I dovetail between thinking this has to be resolved because no one wants the ultimate fucking nightmare, and then I get pure anxiety thinking, oh my God, what if it all just spirals? I mean, this is what they were saying. If he invades, it all spirals out of control. I personally, my final thing on this is, I think the West need to now step more cautiously. We've done all the telling off we can.
We don't want to make him any angrier.
We've done all the telling off we can. We've put him on the naughty step. And I think we have to sit back a bit now and see if we can broker a peace and not go any further, if I'm honest. I think appeasement is a dirty word. And yes, you could argue that's what led to World War II, and a lot of people feel that. But I think appeasement can be one of many, many things in a diplomatic
Does
kind
anybody
of
agree
kit.
with that? Is anybody thinking the same way, that however much it sickens us, we've got to find a way to let him feel that he's won something?
We have to have a bit of self-interest in
I
staying
feel like we're
alive,
just
don't we?
poking the bear. Yeah.
I mean, if it goes to World War III, it's all irrelevant. Would we rather be alive?
She turned around and said,
What?
oh, I missed it. It's popped up. It's very hard catching things this morning.
Mandy Nanny, did you see one of the Sky reporters ask someone from Russia how they can back such a madman, to which he turned around and said, have you seen your own Prime Minister? It's a bit depressing, isn't it? It's a bit worrying. Yes, I don't know, what was the question you asked?
Minky Moo's reminding that you said 2 years ago the thing that scared you most was Russia.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. No, well, yeah.
We won't send the military in, Gabrielle, because then that would be a NATO force. We won't.
But on that
what we
note,
wanted to talk about
is
was
fucking Truss. Someone go and gag her, because she's talking
useless.
shit. So she said she'd support...
She was asked.
Yeah, she was asked. She said she'd support English people who wanted to go out and fight. When you're dealing with such a sensitive tinderbox of potential global disaster, where one of the clearest indicators of war between Russia and a NATO country is boots on the ground landing, to suggest that she would support anyone who wants to be a freedom fighter from this country. If a Russian unit or patrol takes prisoners and they discover one of them's English, are they going to be too interested in whether they've got there formally or whether they're a sort of militia person who's decided to hop on a train from I don't know, Canterbury?
Ben Wallace was trying to clear that up today.
I fucking hope so. I think it's a total dereliction
because the other
of duty.
thing is, you put the military people in jeopardy. But having said that, of course, in Ukraine, the Ukrainian people are doing an incredible job, aren't they? But they're in that of just normal people just going and getting guns.
I think it's one of the most
That's
reprehensible
very
things our
different.
government has said. It's potentially one of the most
Puts other people in
inflammatory things to Putin. If Putin hears that, that could be lost in translation even.
Somebody said yesterday on the radio, it's a bit like a live video game.
Oh,
You're
goodness.
offering people a live video game, because there will be nutters that go out there as well. There will be some people that are altruistic and are very moved by the suffering and want to protect Europe, but there will also be absolute nutters. And again, somebody just said, a military guy just said, that will infuriate Putin.
Yeah, well, that's my point.
Because it's British
troops on the ground. I mean, he doesn't care whether they've been sent there formally or whether they've arrived on
it's so scary
on a
that
return
she said
ticket
that.
from Dover.
I bet she's got a real bollocking for that.
I fucking hope so.
She's useless.
Really useless. I mean, I have to say, I find Ben Wallace a more secure pair of hands. I do find he kind of steadies the ship a little bit. Chrissy S., she's stoking the fire. This is the calibre of Boris's government. No diplomatic skills. Oh,
Somebody
God.
there said, come on, we know Boris is bad, but he's no Putin. Of course we know that, but it's just that propaganda goes all ways, doesn't it?
Well, there you go.
Who knows how Boris is seen in Russia? Who knows what's being said?
Yeah.
They get very filtered, very skewed news.
I mean, I sometimes wonder whether what the West should be doing as they launch the next volley of sanctions is, in the same breath, maybe they are behind the scenes saying, can we talk? Before it gets even worse, can we talk? I mean, I hope there is it doesn't feel like anyone's saying to him, do you want to come to a negotiation? There has to be the offer of a negotiating table at all times, surely. I mean, what do people think of Biden? He seems so quiet, but in the same breath, you think that might be him not wanting to escalate further.
I'm hoping that we're moving towards de-escalation and just trying to calm it all down a bit. I mean, the Ukraine's putting up the fight that they are is very moving. It makes me so emotional, the bravery we're seeing. But I just think, are you just going to get defeated anyway? And how many more lives and infrastructure totally destroyed? And how will you... I just worry he's not going to give up.
Well, there is that. And also in these meetings, if Russia sit there and go, look, Zelensky, if you don't do it, if you don't sign an agreement of some
I hope
form,
they don't kidnap him at this meeting.
we're gonna drop the most almighty bombs on you. I mean, what do you do as a leader? Do you stand nationally proud, or do you do whatever the best thing is to keep people alive? It's like, and this is my point about the threat of World War III. There has to come a point where, the losses outweigh the gains of just saying, well, on principle, we're saying this. Well, hang on a minute. Can we all have a discussion about that principle before we actually see bombs flying around everywhere?
Yeah,
I think there has to be a moment where even the Ukrainians have to sort of pause and go, hang on a minute. This is turning to nuclear possibilities. What can we do to preserve our population?
Well, but that is why I suppose he is agreeing to meet with these butchers.
Yeah.
But I do, does anyone, just like in a mum sort of way, I just do worry about him going to the Belarus border.
Yeah.
It's like, I said to Mark, could they not do it on a Zoom?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why they're all having to see each other in person.
Well, I think Russian have cyber-attacked all of their kind of ability to Zoom and stuff like
internet.
that. Well, I don't know. I mean, I know they've hit their infrastructure. Have you heard about the hacktivists, as someone told me they're called Anonymous, they're kind of freedom fighters on the planet. They've attacked the CIA when they felt the CIA were bad, but they're attacking all of Putin's government websites.
Really?
And they're just, yeah.
Oh my God, how interesting.
They're unidentifiable. They have a Twitter account and they keep targeting. Maybe they can scramble his nuclear deterrent so that it doesn't fire off or something like that.
Somebody just said he's not actually going.
Who?
The president.
No, he isn't. He's sending a delegation.
Good. I was really worrying about him. Did anyone see him in Strictly Come Dancing? Oh my God.
No, I didn't.
Oh my God. I saw it on Richard Bacon's Twitter. You have to watch it. I mean, he's fantastic in it. I'm not sure. I think he might have won.
Did he?
What a fascinating guy.
God.
Apparently, his grandfather was one of the very few people. Do fact check this. Somebody told me this yesterday. Who managed to escape from Auschwitz?
Oh yeah. I remember
So
you
he
saying.
comes. He's got such a fascinating story, and of course, he was. They say he was like the Mr. Bean of Belarus. He was a genius comedian.
Yes.
And because he played a president, they think that's why people leant towards him in voting for him, because they'd already seen him be this president.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
Crazy.
I mean, if you turned up with a script saying all of that and say, I want to get this made, this movie, they would go, don't be ridiculous.
Well, we did have a reality TV star, President of America,
Well,
and we had an
exactly.
actor there.
We did,
Ronald
actually.
Reagan.
We did.
You know,
we
I mean,
did.
now it's strangers' reality.
Folk.
No, yeah, whatever. Elsa Pop, I think Putin knows his days are numbered, so he doesn't care what he does. He even said he doesn't care if his own cosmonauts fall to Earth. Isn't it weird how they have a different word for astronauts, cosmonauts? I prefer cosmonauts.
Should we do a little happy birthday for Minky Moo and have a break from this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Happy birthday, Minky
to
Moo.
you.
Happy birthday, Minky
to
Moo.
you.
Happy birthday, dear Minky Moo. Happy birthday to you.
Here's an interesting fact about Putin and his madness and his long table. Did you know that every single time he had one of his government or advisors come in to see him for, a briefing or whatever, they would have to have fecal tests done to make sure that they didn't have COVID. Any of his advisors, any of his government officials, his defense ministries, before he would meet them, they had to do fecal tests to make sure that they didn't have
I mean, that just
COVID.
shows how batshit crazy he is.
That's how paranoid he is. He's a paranoid man, Heather Cromack.
Is he your new Andy Burnham? No, he's
Who?
not got somebody. Is he your new
Oh.
Jackie Valina? No, I don't fancy him like I fancy Andy Burnham.
But you'd like to have a dance with him.
But I just think he's just extraordinary. And I worry that Putin will get really jealous of him. I mean, he's young, he's fit, he's out on the streets, he knows how to do a selfie video. He's like, and he's a dinosaur.
It's not Minky Moo's birthday.
Oh!
I thought I hadn't seen
It's
that.
so unique. Sorry, Minky Moo.
And Sue Williams. Happy birthday to you, Sue.
Sue Williams.
Happy birthday to you, Sue.
Williams.
Happy birthday, dear Sue Williams. Happy birthday to you. So Minky
It's so
Moo.
unique. Sorry, Minky Moo. Happy birthday, so
to you.
unique. Happy birthday, so
to you.
unique. Happy
Birthday,
birthday,
dear, so unique.
Happy birthday to you.
I hope it is your birthday so unique, because you're not saying it's your... Where are you getting these from? What are you seeing or reading?
Sure, so unique said it was her birthday. Oh, it's somebody else's, not their birthday.
Sue,
Oh my God.
Nadia, you've got to say it when you see it.
Oh, Fee and Sue. Happy birthday, Fee and Sue. Happy birthday, Fee and
You've
Sue.
gone rogue.
Happy birthday,
dear
Fee and
Sue. Happy birthday to you. Sorry about this. It's going around, says Nosy Cow, I like your name, that he has a terminal illness, brain cancer.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I wish someone would just strap him to a chair and wheel him out and then
Yeah.
kind of bring a level... Because you can see most of his government advisors were sat there like that going...
Yeah, when he was saying set up the nuclear
Yeah,
war.
they were like going, Vladimir, we must stop this crazy
Oh yeah,
man.
Parkinson's. We've heard everything. Yesterday he was diagnosed with everything. Another one was Herbis syndrome, which is a syndrome that people get when they have enormous power, and apparently it drives them batshit crazy, and they just go nuts.
I don't know. I'm speechless. Yeah, I've always been worried about this.
But
and it's
these
happening.
are the things. These are the things.
These are the
Don't
things.
if you're in a WhatsApp group where people send you stuff, just say, listen, I'm not coping very well with it at the moment. I don't want drip
Come
feed.
out of it.
It's triggering me. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be a part of this. Try and watch the news maybe in the morning if you want to watch the news, and then get on with your day.
Yeah.
But I think nighttime news is bad. We found ourselves looking at bloody Sky papers at midnight last night. It was like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We need to just go to bed and just...
Carly, can we mention Ashley's Zoom quiz night, please? Is it tonight? I think it might be tonight. But yes, go and check.
Is
check
it
that
our
out.
Ashley?
Yeah.
Yes,
Ashley
please
Gardner.
do.
Yeah.
If you go to Ashley Gardner's Instagram page, We've actually donated
Yeah, a couple of prizes.
a couple of, he's told me off because I'm not allowed.
Not allowed
We've
to say what they
donated
are.
a couple
Let
of,
Ashley do that.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying we've donated a couple of prizes, so you want to be a part of it because
Yeah.
the prizes are good.
Exactly. Miss Soph, have you got a basement? Can I come over if you do? It's a little bit like that.
Everyone's
For the first
thinking-
time ever in my life, because Maddie is in Bristol, for the first time ever in my life, I was thinking, okay, the epicenter of a nuclear hit means that if we knew it was happening, I would have to phone Maddie and say, stay there. Because London is going down.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a review of Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
And what was it? Somebody else said something there. I really don't. I mean, personally, I don't think we can have a nuclear war.
No, I don't either. I don't.
And
I really
listening
don't.
to a lot of the same. Oh, Jackie Valino said she's addicted to LBC. I am a bit, because I tell you one thing, they're doing a damn good job of it. I don't really want to listen to loads of people phoning in, but they've had some fantastic experts, calm, decent people that really know the inner workings of that region, and it is fascinating.
Yeah.
But it's about just managing, isn't it, of when it's crossed over into a bit of self-harming by almost listening to too much.
David Shields, the epicenter would probably be Faslane in Scotland, where Trident is. Fair point. Fair point. The Scots must be feeling a little bit
Let's not
twitchy.
go there. We're trying to wrap up with
Okay.
a bit of positivity.
It's not going to happen, guys. It's not going to happen. If we're not here tomorrow...
Shut up. Has anyone ever used these? I got hooked in by the
What are they?
advert, and
Tumble
I'm
dry
sure
sheet.
that they're really bad for the environment
Oh, I'm
and
sure they
everything.
are.
But what I thought I would do with them afterwards is, somebody had this idea. Smell it.
Okay.
So you put cotton wool balls, all these, after you've used them in the tumble dryer. You see, you could maybe re-put. Then you put them behind your radiator in your Hoover, and then you get a lovely smell.
Completely lost me at the first word there. Even
I
at the
hope they're
smelling.
biodegradable.
Sophie, absolutely, we are going to be watching the last Euphoria. Apologies for not being able to review all of the episodes. It's just been hard getting us all around the table at the same time. But we will be watching the final arresting, dramatic episode.
A lot of spoilers
Euphoria.
around this morning.
Yeah,
We don't
no,
want to see it.
absolutely. Okay, guys, have a good day.
Great.
Don't fret.
Good ship lollipop says these are great for smelly shoes.
Dust
I've never
radiators with them,
tried them
says
before.
Keely Windle. Guys, have a lovely day. Try not to think about it too much.
Yeah.
It's
Move
not going to
on
happen.
now.
Move on. And let's keep
move
our
on.
fingers crossed for
Go
the
for a
peace
walk.
talks.